Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Wisconsin Literacy's Winter Conference. Our session is Bridging the Gap, applying PK to 12 reading research and strategies to adult literacy. I will introduce our presenter and then we can get started. Our presenter today is Tamara Mao. She is a systems level equity focused innovative instructional leader with extensive teaching, administrative leadership, and supervisory experience. She started her education career as a high school English teacher and quickly recognized the need to become a reading specialist in order to support students with expanding their literate identities. She then became an instructional coach, working with educators to unlock content area learning using disciplinary literacy. Tamara went on to become an administrator in curriculum and instruction at Madison Metropolitan School District, leading K-12 systemic professional learning and resource development to include supervising K-12 literacy interventions within an equitable multi-tiered system of support. Tamara then served as the Director of Teaching and Learning, followed by the Director of Operations, Partnerships, and Innovation at the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction, where she took an anti-bias, anti-racist approach to creating just and equitable working and learning environments. Wanting to return to her passion of working directly with educators, students, and families, Tamara returned to the school setting in her two current roles: the Assistant Coordinator for Literacy and Languages at Edgewood College, as well as the Principal of Velma B. Hamilton Middle School. When she doesn't have her head in a book, she spends as much time as she can outdoors. She's an avid runner, hiker, biker, kayaker, skier, and all-around traveler. She's a mom, daughter, sister, and aunt, and I hope that I have done her bio justice because she is also an excellent friend of mine. Tamara, take it away.
All right. Thank you so much, Jamie. So it is such a privilege and honor to be here, especially with Miss Jamie Cobes. So she and I were high school English teachers together. So we taught door by door, side by side in our classrooms. And it's just a beautiful world when you see how our paths continue to intertwine and join. And some of you might be familiar with me when I worked at the state of Wisconsin as well. So I helped support our immigrants, our immigrant learners, and so in our multilingual learners as well. So that was part of an area that I supported when I was at the state of Wisconsin. So it's good to be here with you. I am showing up. I think technology is amazing because we get to connect across time and space. It also allows me to be in my office here at a middle school. And so I have a door that's right there. So there might be some middle school learners that pop in, even though they know that I'm in a meeting right now. So, but just that's the nature, I think, of online professional learning. So it is really an honor to be here with you. I'm going to share my screen. And we've got a lot to talk about today as we think about exploring what works in the PK-12 setting that we can bridge to supporting our adult learners. So what I'd like to do is you got a good feel of who I am, how I'm showing up in this space, and I'm curious about who's in this space with us. So because there's this collective wisdom that we all bring, or we each show up with our own life experiences, our learned and lived experiences to create this collective wisdom. So if you could please let us know who's here, if you could introduce yourself in chat, who are you? Where are you from? What brings you here today? So I'm going to go ahead and take a look at our chat. All right. Thank you so much for bringing their voices, names, and places into this shared space. So a lot of different experience from all over the state of Wisconsin. So I'm hoping in the next 50 minutes, 52 minutes that we have together, that we'll be able to share from our experiences. I do have 3 times where we would move into breakout rooms. And again, you don't have to feel like you are the literacy expert, because I know that for all my years that I've been in literacy, a reading specialist, director positions, as a teacher, as a coach, as a colleague. I'm still learning. And so that's what I mean by the collective wisdom. So we'll have 3 different breakout sessions. We'll do a little bit of learning. I'm going to show a video of what it looks like in the PK, more at the elementary level. And then I want us to think about, which is the purpose of this session, is to think about how does this apply to your current session, your scenario, your environment that you're working in. So, and I will share, as a couple of people had mentioned, wanting to know what the research base is behind it. Everything is grounded in research, and I have those research citations there, and I could follow up with more if people are interested. So I'm excited to be here. So let's get going. So I'm sharing here an article, and because this is something that students would learn how to read in class. This is an article that comes from Time Magazine. And my question here is, how does a student learn to comprehend an article such as this? We have researchers from all across disciplines, such as developmental psychology, cognitive scientists, education, linguistics, and they've been taking a look at what it means to be able to read. What does it mean to be able to comprehend? And research has revealed just a great deal about what goes on in the mind when readers comprehend both oral and written texts, and how instruction and other experiences can affect that development. So today's session, that's what we want to focus in on, is what does the research say? What are the practices that we have going on in our schools, and how can this be applied to the adult learner? And so providing that bridge. Now, reading has always been a controversial issue, and it seems to be a bit controversial. You have different people with different perspectives who have their different, again, lived and learned experiences that bring that to the conversation around research. Around the teaching of reading. And so some of them position it as an either or situation. Either we're going to don't teach strategies, but build knowledge, or don't focus on comprehension, focus on word reading. And this tendency does not reflect all of the research findings, and it maximizes the likelihood that we won't necessarily meet the needs of all of our readers. So all of our readers come with different strengths and different needs. And so what you're going to see today is a blending of the research. And to me, from my perspective, I need as many tools as I can to meet the diverse needs of my learners who are in my building. I currently have almost 800 middle schoolers in our middle school, and they come with a variety of different needs. So I want to have all of the tools that I can in order to support them. So that's today. I'll show you the research in order to support that. But we're going to, very similarly to like, to use a metaphor from public health, like good health requires good nutrition, ample physical activity, adequate sleep, low levels of stress, and so forth, right? We can't just argue, oh, you just need good nutrition. You need all of these things. So in today's session, when we think about what does it mean to read, how can we support readers, we're going to be taking a look at all of the research from that. So the question here is, what does it mean to read? And so reading is a meaning-making system. Just like when we were looking at this Time Magazine article, it's not enough to be able to just read the words on this page. What we need to do is we need to be able to make meaning in our brains. So we want to go beyond just word reading. So reading comprehension does rely on the ability to read most or all of the words in a text, but it's not sufficient as a condition for reading comprehension. So I'm going to show you 3 models of reading that are current research. Again, I'm a PK-12 practitioner, so I used to work at the Department of Public Instruction, but this is what's guiding all of our schools, 421 school districts in the state of Wisconsin, is this model that represents the reading process. So you can see here in this model that we have reading comprehension at the right-hand side of it, but there are all of these pieces, and and these different strands, these foundational skills, language skills, and cognitive skills, and all of those are working together towards reading comprehension. But you can also see the circle, kind of that context for reading, sort of the glue that holds it all together, is that kids come in not just as only readers, but they come as whole beings. So what is their social emotional learning? How does that feed into how that reading process about how they're taking on reading? Having choice and access. What's going on in their brain for them to even be aware of what's happening? That's that metacognition and interest and relevancy. It's getting to be about tax time right now. And so I'm going to start getting my tax documents. I'm a reading specialist. I can read literature, as much literature as I can consume. You put a tax document in front of me, which I have low interest and low motivation in reading, and I'm going to struggle with that type of text. So that's what I mean by, like, you have reading comprehension and there's all of these pieces that feed into it, but you also have this bigger context of who the reader is and how is that reader showing up in this space. So that's an example from our Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction. This is coming from, especially when we talk about the science of reading, this is Scarborough's rope. And so again, you're going to see some of these similar language, but these similar concepts displayed differently, emphasized differently. And just like what we talked about with that metaphor from public health, we want to think about how all of these pieces are coming together. So we have, again, language comprehension and word recognition, and these come together increasingly strategic with increasing automaticity, that it comes automatically, and this woven together becomes skilled reading, right? And so focusing in on text comprehension. And here is a third example of this, and this is more recent research. So this is coming from 2011, and this is coming from the University of Michigan with Nell Duke. And so she provides this other model for reading, similar components in it, but she displays it as a layered model of effective comprehension instruction. So what we want to focus in on is that it doesn't matter which model that we're kind of looking at. What we want to do is have a understanding of what the research is. So when our learners come to us, we have multiple tools in our tool belt to be able to support our learners. With this, though, what we need to think about who our learners are. So I worked for a couple of years with Dr. Gholdy Muhammad, who is the author of two books, Cultivating Genius, as well as I'm forgetting her newest one, Around Joy, and Reclaiming Joy. And so in my work with her, she really talked about this idea of getting to know who your learners are. So I have this as a resource that Jamie will send out to you. We'll also send out the slides, so you'll have this for as a resource for you, and it'll have a link to this, and you can modify these questions. But this helps to get to know who your learners are. Just as we wanted to bring your voice into the space about who you are, and what your strengths are, why you're here, we also want to do that with our students. So thinking about that, what are ways that you get to know who your students are? And what I thought we could do is just share an idea in chat, because again, this is a collective. We've got 36 people in here. We could have 36, be walking away with 36 ideas about how you start to generate that learning partnership with your learners, about ways that you get to know them. And this is one way, is through different types of questions. So first name of Muhammad. Her name is Gholdy, so I can type that in there as you are adding that, your idea in here. And also, if you wanted to unmute and come into the space, bring your voice into the space, you could also do that. So I'm going to stop my sharing right now because I'd like to make that a little bit more engaging here. So if you wanted to share, show your who you are, we've got some pictures here, some names, but you can add that. And then also I'll drop this question in. What are ways you get to know who your students are? Human bingo. Asking about where they came from, what brought them to the Literacy Council. Would you rather questions? Those are great for all ages. Yeah. Oops, Elizabeth, I'm sorry. Were you saying something? Okay, more ideas. Asking about their goals and interests, playing a game, one thing to know about you, icebreaker type activities. Yeah. Great. So talking about what their occupation is, talking about his farm animals. Thank you. So it's really important to get to know who your learners are, what their interests are, what you can find out about them, because we can connect that information then to who they are and these literacy instructional practices that I'm going to show you right now. So knowing who your learner is it's the foundation of teaching reading, because we are teaching readers, and being able to make those connections to who they are, what their interests are. Again, thinking about that motivation, that outside circle on DPI's graphic, and I'll show you on another one here. Let me share this. That was a common piece here. With Nell Dukes, you can see here this motivating literacy, building on interest, goal setting, choices, peer interaction, identity development, and caprician. So that is an important piece about what are those motivating factors for students of all ages to be engaging, and you can make connections to that. So thank you for sharing your ideas in chat. That's very helpful. And I'm hoping that you also got some ideas from each other. This is a great way of interaction. And it's a warm up too for when we go into our breakout sessions. So, all right. So with that, how readers access words, because I can't talk to you. I teach 9-week courses on how to of teachers who are going to become reading teachers. And I can do this for 9 weeks. So when Jamie asked me to focus in, I focused in on some of the pieces that are these core discrete skills. If you look at, let me go back to this decoding piece. So you can see here in Nell Dukes, she talks about that as those word reading skills. So we're going to focus in on some discrete word reading skills as shown here in Nell Duke work. In this Scarsborough Rope, we're going to be focusing in on word recognition, where specifically around this decoding, phonological awareness and decoding. And if we look at this model here, we're going to be talking about this phonological awareness, alphabetic principle, and phonics. So again, we're going to be staying in that foundational skill, these 3 discrete areas in foundational skills. So that seems to be what people are asking me a lot to talk about in my literacy presentations. So, and if there's other areas of reading that you're interested in, you can just reach out to Wisconsin Literacy and we can provide follow-up information for you as well. So how readers access words. Word reading, again, this is one component of being able to comprehend a text, but they're essential building skills that all students need, regardless of age, in order to be able to comprehend text. So word reading can happen in 4 different ways, and somebody had asked for research, and so you can see the research that's tagged there. So decoding, readers convert letters into sounds and blend them to form recognizable words. So decoding, and that I highlighted that because that's what we're going to be focusing in on. Word reading can also happen by sight, retrieving words already from memory. So that's what makes us fast readers, is we already can retrieve words by just simply looking at them. We know that what that word is simply by looking at it. We don't need to convert the letters into sounds. Word reading can also help happen through analogy, where readers access in memory words that they have already learned and use parts of that spelling to read new words having the same spelling. So that's learning to read words through analogy. And then prediction, this idea of using context clues and their linguistic and background knowledge and memory from the text to anticipate or guess the identities of unknown words. And so we saw that context clues, we saw the linguistic knowledge in all of those graphics, because this again is a meaning-making system. Reading is a meaning-making system. But again, for the purpose of where we are at today, I wanted to showcase some examples that focus in on decoding. So again, there's a strong research base to support decoding. And there are three different citations here to support decoding, because our language is alphabetic. And so for some of you, you're going to have students who don't come from a background with an alphabetic language. And so there's going to be a greater need for some of these other skills. But because our language is alphabetic, decoding is an essential and primary means of recognizing words. There are just too many words in the English language to rely on. Memorization is a primary word identification strategy. So some people are critics of like whole language, if you've heard that. And so you can see that this is the balance side to it, is that we need to be able to decode words because there's just too many words to memorize. English decoding skills are not intuitive. The sound symbol correspondence must be directly taught. And so that is clear. And there's plenty of examples to show that, about how we can read different words with different pronunciations. And decoding skills are a means to reading independence because they teach students how to problem solve unfamiliar or difficult words. So there's a bit of a research base to support what we're going to go into for decoding. So those foundational word reading skills to decode, we're going to focus in on three, which is phonological awareness, alphabetics, and phonics. So I want to do a quick check for understanding here. How are folks doing? You can use either your thumbs up, you can use your put it in chat. Does everybody know where we're going, why we're going there, and the research that we've drawn upon in order to support it? I see one thumbs up. And if not, give me a question to help set that context, because I don't want to get into the deeper work without first having a broad context. Okay. I'm seeing thumbs. Okay, all right. Well, with that then, let's jump into this. So I'm sharing sound, so because we're going to have a video here in just a minute to help support our learning, to see what it looks like in practice. That's one of the things that my students always want to know, my adult students at Auduta College want to know, is like, what does it look like before they start working with scholars? What does it look like? I just need to see it in practice. So phonological awareness, and I organized each of these sections the same way about what it is. So you'll get this and what it looks like in practice. So we'll see a video of it. And this is where we're going to be breaking out into breakouts. So I just want to foreshadow that what's coming to help generate ideas, questions, things that you want to share. So we'll talk a little bit about that concept for decoding. I'll go through this, and then we're going to see it in action, where I want you to pay attention to what are the teacher moves, how do the teacher moves impact student learning? And then we're going to break out in breakout sessions for what can you apply to working with adult learners. Sound good? Okay. All right. Sounds good. So let's start with phonological awareness. Phonological awareness is really, if I had to say thing, it is wordplay. It is playing with words, playing with sounds. And so it is from that perspective, all of those songs that you maybe sang with nieces, with if you were a babysitter, singing songs that way, like Willoughby, Wallaby, Whammy, an elephant sat on Jamie, Willoughby, Wallaby, Whamra, an elephant sat on Tamra. So that's that word, that's phonological awareness. As what we did was we used onset and rhyme, and we changed that first sound in that. And that's really what play is. Now, kids, a lot of kids that we work with don't have that kind of play in their early years. And so we want to make sure that kids are getting that, ideally by kindergarten, right? So those are the skills that we would develop in kindergarten, but sometimes those skills aren't developed in kindergarten. So we continue to work on it. But phonological awareness is a critical piece in kids, and it's a predictor of kids being successful readers, being able to read. But it's the ability to detect and manipulate the units of spoken language. And so we can do this a couple of different ways for that to be able to detect and manipulate the units of spoken language. First, we can hear and detect individual words. So being able to count the number of words in a phrase or sentence, having those word boundaries, that's part of phonological awareness. So detect and pronounce rhyming words. And so I'm going to show you a video about rhyming, how to work with kids with rhyme, segmenting and blending words into syllables, segment and blend onset and rhyme of a single syllable word like clean, boom, og. Segment and manipulate individual phonemes. So those individual sounds in words, and that's that phonemic awareness, that the word cat has 3 phonemes, act. And this does not rely on any visually, on any print, because as soon as you put print in it, it becomes a different system that's going on in the brain. The brain is working differently, and that becomes phonics. And so we want to specifically talk about phonological awareness, about what it is. So I'm going to move us into a couple quick videos. I need to stay cognizant of time here. But what does this look like? So again, very important things is a lot of times when I work with teachers, they don't recognize that their actions impact student learning, which seems simple. But you as a tutors, what you do impacts how students take on those skills. So I want you watching for 2 things. What are the teacher moves that you're noticing to support this phonological awareness? And how are the students taking on that learning? But think about, like, these are little babies, right, in front of you. I bet a lot of the students that you're working with are bigger than that, a little older than that. So think about, how does this apply to my context? For some of you, it may, and for some of you, it might be like, oh, a lot of my people who are coming in are have that phonological awareness. They come from backgrounds with an alphabetic background, and they know that. So I am going to move out of this, my slideshow, into some videos. And so let me share my screen. So, oops, here we go. So you're going to see a teacher, again, working with younger scholars around rhyme. Jamie, give me a thumbs up.
This is the rhyming game. So we're going to say a word. If it rhymes, you're going to put your thumbs up. Everybody put your thumbs up. And if it doesn't rhyme, you're going to put your thumbs down. So let me practice for you. Listen to this word. Cat, bat. Listen, cat, bat. Now you say it. Cat, bat. Does it rhyme? Yes, put your thumbs up like that. Cat, table. No, you say it. Cat, table. That doesn't rhyme. Okay. They do like to go on the table, you're right. How about mop, floor?
Mop.
So you say it, mop, floor. Does it rhyme?
Yeah.
Listen, mop, floor. Doesn't sound the same. So why don't you put your thumbs down? Okay, try this one. Mop top. You say it. Mop top. What do you think? Yes, put your thumbs up. Ryder, you're really good at hearing those rhymes. Here's your last one. Ready? Pig wig. You say it. Pig wig. Thumbs up or thumbs down? Yes, it does rhyme.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. So again, those questions that I have for you is, what did you notice about the teacher moves? And so if you, that's the first thing. And so, or you could talk about the student, how you saw students taking on that learning. So, and if you want to unmute and bring your voice into the space, I would appreciate that. Or if you wanted to just jot in chat, you can do that as well. What kind of pre-work did the teacher need to do in order to support that lesson?
She gave an example, verbal example of 2 words that rhymed, and the physical, thumbs up and thumbs down.
Yes, awesome. Thank you very much, Ashley. So yeah, you mentioned a couple of things. So she had to pre-select words, right? Words that rhyme that kids could hear, because this is about hearing the sounds, those phonemes. It's about hearing the sounds, not looking at letters. So she had to get pairs of words, some that rhyme, some that didn't rhyme. And then she also, Ashley, you had another point in there. Can you remind me? Because I've lost it there.
Sure. She was also doing the physical movements, thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yes. And for our learners, that's a huge piece of learning, is how do you be engaged? And that becomes a formative assessment too. She can see how kids are taking that learning right there. So if she starts to see kids through body language, through facial expressions, through thumbs, the wrong way for thumbs, then that gives her feedback to be able to inform, oh, maybe my kids don't have that. I need to go back and reteach this, or I need to teach it in a different way to help support kids with rhyme. So that formative assessment is very important. And I will link in and share those with Jamie, is different types of assessments that you can use to assess phonological awareness as well. So looks like we have a few things in chat too. She was very encouraging. Learning to read is a complex process. It's hard work. It's hard work at any age. And so being encouraging is very important. So I'm really glad that you focused in on that and saw that, Marcia. Thank you. Teacher kept the lesson interesting, short, and engaging. Yes, yes, yes. That quick bursts of learning help people stay engaged. Teacher, onset and rhyme. Yes, she even used that in her voice. So thank you for noticing that. So those were other things that she was already doing, Carolyn, wasn't she? That go beyond just the rhyme, but using the onset and rhyme as well to teach that. The segmentation, game instructions, gamification is really important with learning. All learners, all ages. I love it. Anybody play Wordle or Connections in New York Times? Yeah. Yeah, because games are fun. That's all language learning though too. So that gamification is fun at any age. So game instructions and that modeling is part of, which we'll get to, that systematic explicit instruction. So modeling is part of having systematic explicit instruction. Repeated with more emphasis with time between phonemes, positive reinforcement. Thank you. In preparation for the exercise, the students would have already had to have knowledge of what rhyming was. Absolutely. This isn't just a jump in, but you could see how the wordplay was there. So thinking about how the students were taking that on and what lessons had to happen before that. And there is a sequence, a scope and sequence. That's part of being systematic, is having a scope and sequence of skills. And also when to teach what, and including those as links as well, as resources. There are lots of different examples out there, but I like to just use one so people can see it and you can have a resource for what is the scope and sequence and how do you align instructional practices with those scopes or with those specific skills. One child seemed to confuse the rhyming with the meaning, the cat on the table. Yeah, yeah. And that happens. We have a lot of concrete learners. And I noticed that when I play connections on Wordle too, that sometimes they position like words next to it and it throws me off. And so that happens not only with children, but with adults as well, is that the meaning that child knows the meaning of those words. And so just flipping between staying focused on rhyme versus going into the meaning piece of that. Yeah. She affirmed the idea. Yes. Teachers had students speak the word, helpful to feel forming words the same word. Okay. How about this collective wisdom? I had a feeling when I saw who signed up for this. So this is absolutely spot on. So thank you for that. So I'm going to move on then to our next section here. Let me get this situated here. I have to pull back my screen here because we are I'm going to show one more. How much, let me stay focused. I have a couple more videos, but let me stay focused here and let's move on to alphabetics. So that was phonological awareness, what it looks like. Oh, actually, before we go too far, what did you notice about the students and how they were taking on the learning? You shared a little bit. Did anybody want to share any other noticings about students? So we had a couple of ideas. Kids were engaged. They had their thumbs up. We talked about one child who seemed confused. And so that is formative assessment for us to do some reteaching. Two, they were having fun. Yes, they were engaged. And so those are all what you're seeing as the byproduct of teacher planning, right? You don't just show up and like just wing it. With teaching, we want to be systematic, we want to be intentional, we want to know where students are, we want to use that formative feedback, those formative assessments of watching students, observing students, see how they're taking it on to help inform. That keeps things engaged and having fun. So now is the time for application, and I'm going to drop the question here in chat. Can you apply to working with adult learners? So who feels like a breakout session? So you want to do it in breakout or rooms, or would you like to stay in whole group and discuss?
I wonder, and it's your call, Tamara, because you're the expert here, but I wonder if we would have a richer discussion if we saw another video with another concept, and then we talked about both things in the breakout.
Would you like, Jamie, the alphabetics, or do you want another video on phonological awareness?
I think let's move to alphabetics.
Alphabetics? Okay, sounds good. Okay, so let's move to alphabetics. Sound good? People like Jamie's suggestion? I'm here for it.
We also have a whole lot of whole group votes in the chat.
Oh, we do? Okay. Oh, whole groups. Oh, yeah, they're there. Whole group, hear from everyone. I follow the interest of my adult learners. Okay, thank you. Okay, awesome. Okay, sounds good. Let's go to alphabetics. You can see that. And alphabetics is that piece. Let me just jump into it. Let me find my slides. And then let me go over here. Okay, so alphabetics, what is it? That's, I think, one starting point here is just to be able to define it and have a common understanding of what it is. So alphabetics, it's that understanding that spoken words are composed of individual sounds and that printed letters represent those sounds. So alphabetics is the spoken words are composed of individual sounds. So we're going beyond those phonemes. We have those sounds and we're putting those into words, and that there's a printed letter that represents those sounds. So learning that there are systematic, predictable relationships between sounds and letters allows children to apply these relationships to both familiar and unfamiliar words and to begin to learn to read with fluency. So this is what Alphabetics is, what it is, and let's take a look at what it looks like in action. So I'm going to, again, show a video here. And again, this is with littles, and so you have to think about what is your context, but Alphabetics is an important principle even with adult learners. Phonological awareness is important with adult learners. That's why I chose these, is because we can bridge, these are important concepts for teaching adults to read as well. So if we started with phonological awareness, we're taking a look at Alphabetics. So what does it look like? Same questions. Pay attention. What are the teacher moves? And what are you noticing about how the teacher moves are impacting student learning? So with that, I'm going to stop my sharing. I'm going to move over to, there we go. And I have two quick videos, and I think what I'll do is just play them back to back so we can see them quickly. And then I'm going to share. So here we go.
You're going to get a letter bag. I want you to take one letter out of your bag. Okay, that's yours. And this is Jensen's. Take one letter out of your bag and find the letter on the ABC chart. Oh, find the K on the ABC chart.
One thing I will say, and I know I'm interrupting this, is when we think about Alphabetics, it can begin with those letter names, then letter shapes, and finally letter sounds. So, so thinking about that, there are a couple components here. It's the name, it's what the shape of them, and the sounds themselves. So again, thinking about the instruction, you can see here, think about what resources she's bringing to this, the level of preparation that she has, and it can be, again, play. So anyway, so pay attention to those things, but I wanted to bring that up. I forgot to mention that with Alphabetics is thinking about letter names, letter shape, and finally sounds. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna rewind it just a little bit.
Bag, I want you to take one letter out of your bag. Okay, that's yours. And this is Jensen's. Take one letter out of your bag and find the letter on the ABC chart. Oh, find the K on the ABC chart. Where is it? Oh, that's great. What's that letter? And what's the picture?
I found the K.
That's right. You found the K. And what's the picture? A kite. And go ahead and make another one. Oh, what do you have there? It's in the top row. Can you find it? Which one looks like this? Let's look at this one. Okay. That is. There you go. Keep going, Keljan. And that's a D for dog. Pick out another one. Excellent job.
Oh, I did everything.
Excellent. What else do you have there?
W.
Very good. Now, wait a minute. Can you make it look like that? Can you turn your letter so it looks excellent? Find another one. 4. Now take a good look. Does it look like B? Check right here. Ooh, does that look right?
Yep.
How about this? Does that look right?
No.
Yes, it does. See the stick? This is the D. Yes. Oh, and that's, what letter is that? A. And can you turn it so it looks like this one? Turn it around so the stick is on that side. Excellent. So this is A for. Come on, buddy. Jensen, pick one more.
I find that. Oh.
Where's that? Where's that one? In this line right here. Do you see it? It's in this line. Which one is it? There. Take a look like that. And that letter is a
Xylophone.
L for leaf. Okay, guys, put your letters back in your bags. I'm going to say a letter and see if you can find it. Go to the.
Hang on a second. Okay, here is another example. And just thinking about what the materials are.
I'm going to say a letter and see if you can find it. Go to the first line and find the A. Find it quickly. Good. A for what? Oh, show me the D for dog. D. Everybody say it. D. Go to the next line and show me the F.
F.
Very good. F for fish. Right there. And how about the K? Where's the K? Ooh, there's the K. Right there. K is for kite. Let's go to the next line and see if you can find a O. That was fast, Ryder. O. Everybody see the O?
Oh.
Where is the O in this line? You see it? Is it that one, that one, that one, that one, or that one? Where's the O for octopus? There it is. And one more. S. Go to the next line. See if you can find the S. You see it? There, you did it. What's the S here? S for what? Snake.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. And same questions that we had here is, what did you notice about the teacher moves? And I see Lori kicked us off here. The lesson felt like a game and everyone was winning. So what did you notice about the teacher moves? And what did you notice about the students and how they were taking on their learning? Anything else you noticed about teacher moves? And great. So showing excitement, and the student caught the excitement, showing interest in learning the letters and sound, and giving clues if needed. Thank you. That's what one of the things that why I chose to show both videos is that when kids get stuck, I think sometimes there's this response, or when students get stuck, is to give them the answers. But one of the teacher moves that we saw here, which supports again the research and how we teach reading, is to use cues. And so she used the physical cue. So the entire linking chart, or that alphabet chart, we call it a linking chart. And I have an alphabet chart that's linked in your resources. It can be overwhelming for students. So she narrowed it down to a specific area and started to point. And so that's one of the ways that we can scaffold. It's called a scaffold. So scaffold for our students' learning. So Ashley, giving the clues if needed. Multisensory assists with making letters right side up, assists with struggling students. Kids were excited to show that they found the picture to match the letter shape and sound. Yes, absolutely. And so it is multisensory. So I wanted to show a couple different videos regarding it, because we're talking about the gamification of it, but we're also talking about those manipulatives too. So being able to physically manipulate things helps to solidify concepts that are within the brain. That works for younger learners as well as working for older learners. So whenever we can make things multisensory, whenever we can get people to actually be writing with pen and pencil or pen and paper, that helps to solidify those concepts. So there we go. So I know we talked a little bit about that. Jamie, I'm looking at time. Do you want to show one more on phonics and then have a discussion about what this means for people, what they're extrapolating? Okay, sounds good. So let's go ahead and take a look at our third concept that we were going to talk about, and that's the concept of phonics. So going a little bit deeper in that, let me find this. When I'm looking at it on the screen and I've just got a couple of sentences here, it seems like it's an easy concept, but teaching kids phonics is there's complexity within it, but it's teaching kids, or phonics, what it is the study of that relationship between sounds and letters, as we've been talking about. Phonics is the understanding that there is the predictable relationship between the sounds of spoken language and the letters and the spellings that represent those written language. And so thinking about phonics, there are different ways that we can teach that. And I've got a list of that, and there's other articles too, but it's helping bridge that difference between knowing the letters, again, knowing the sounds of the letters, but now attaching that to the sounds, attaching the sounds and the letters together. So let's go ahead and see that in action. Again, paying attention to the teacher moves as well as to the student moves. And so I have this. We're going to be using another concept which is applicable with older learners too, which is using sound boxes or Elkonian boxes, but they're sound boxes. And that can help kids to learn the phonics, that again, that letters and sounds have a predictable pattern.
When I tell you the word, the first thing you're going to do is you're not going to write it. You're going to take your finger and you're going to say it slowly. And you're going to say it slowly with your finger and slide it across. And you should be making the last sound when you get to the last box. We're going to use 3 boxes today. And we're going to say the word map. So say it slowly and run your finger under it. Say it again as you write it.
This helps again with those letter boundaries, right? So somebody had talked about what are word boundaries, but we have letter boundaries as well. And you can start to see, I hope you can see it, the screen's not so great, but can you see that there are 3 different boxes there? It's the sound box or Elkonian boxes. We're going to use our lowercase letters. So remember our A. We start like a C, close it up and down. Can you fix that? All right, erase. Now run your finger under it and show me you have all the sound. Okay, here's the next word. We're going to do log. What's the first thing you're going to do?
Log.
And then check it. Run your finger under it and make sure you have all the sounds that. Log. Stretch it slowly like this, not log. I want you to go log. Log. And run your finger under it. Okay, let's do another one. Let's do sat. What? Don't start writing. I want to hear you saying it. Yours. Okay, once you have it, I want to see you check it. Go ahead and run your finger under it and check all your sounds. All right, erase. Let's do one more. So the word's going to be.
You can see how, well, I'm sort of giving it to you, but you can see how the phonological awareness skills are paying off here too, right? So that blending and segmenting. So just cueing into what she's doing here with these teacher moves.
Now, before you start writing, remember, you're going to run your finger under it and say it slowly under the box. Now you can write it. All right, now we're going to all check it together. We're going to run our finger under it and say it slowly. Anders, let's see you run your finger under it. Did you have your finger under the P when you said the P sound? Yes. You weren't looking though, so you need to look. There you go. All right.
All right, and so I'm going to stop sharing there. And so what are some things that you noticed here about the teacher moves and or how the students were taking on their learning? All right, thank you, Jamie. Yeah, so they really wanted to jump into that writing instead of using that oral language to rehearse that. There's a linguist who used to say reading and writing float on a sea of talk. Oral language is so foundational to teaching reading and being able to verbalize those sounds, to hear those sounds before we get into the writing piece. So reading and writing, or speaking and writing. Breaking down the instructions, first you're going to, being very explicit and breaking down complex steps into simpler texts. Keyed in on how they were writing and sounding out the word. I think that's one thing that we do that I see happen a lot in instruction is kids are giving us feedback on how they're taking on the learning all the time. It's really a matter of, as teachers, as tutors, are we tuning into how they're taking on that learning, and then are we applying it to our next instruction, or do we just continue to go to the next thing that's in there? So using that formative data to inform what your next teacher move is critical. So teacher modeling and then responding to students, that feedback right away is, again, another essential instructional practice. So you really are tuned into what those teacher moves are to make learning possible. Now, I said this earlier. I know we're not going to have time to move into breakout rooms. I'm cognizant of time. Jamie, we're at 2 o'clock, correct? Yes. So I do want to kind of move into this idea of systematic and explicit instruction and what that means. So can be some controversy in the reading world about just teaching individual skills or having a scope and sequence to those skills and making sure that they are taught in a very thorough way. And so the science of reading talks a lot about systematic and explicit instruction. And so the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction talks about systematic, meaning that instruction builds from easy to more complex skills with built-in review and repetition to ensure mastery. So we need to have a scope and sequence of skills. In the PK-12 arena, we have what we call the standards. And so that is a scope and sequence of what skills are. I do have a resource that's linked that Jamie can send out about what is a scope and sequence of skills that may be helpful for you. So that's what systematic is. But then there's explicit, how you're teaching it. And so what we want to do is make sure that we're teaching that directly to students. That's the explicit part. We talk about the gradual release of responsibility as being a way to have explicit instruction. And so I wanted to leave you with that when we think about what does reading mean. Even though we focused in on just one component of it, this is a reading lesson plan that you can reference. We really were focusing in on those word learning. So it's here. But again, if we go back to that idea of what it means to read, that we want to get kids to comprehension, even though we've been focused in on word reading. There's this complex process that's happening. So having a complete reading lesson is an important piece to make sure that we're teaching those skills to be able to transfer. So with that, these are some of the resources that we have for you. And I want to thank you for being here today. Thank you, Jamie, and to the Wisconsin Literacy for the invitation to be here. And if you have any questions, just let me know, or if you need further resources.
I'll just close us off, and as there's any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. But thank you all for being here. Again, I will send a follow-up email with all of these wonderful resources that Tamara has provided. And I invite you back tomorrow for our last day of our winter conference, where we will have 2 sessions, one on integrating integrating refugee community videos into your lessons, and our last one on strategies for teaching low beginning English learners. Thank you so much to Tamara and everyone for attending.